It's February, and that means it's time for February's colorway. This month's theme was fruit orchards, so I figured most of the dyers were going to be doing a lot of fruit colors and nice bright purples and reds and blues and all the colors of all the berries and fruits out there in the world. But I decided this time around I would go with the leaves of the fruit orchard because they're the ones that do all the work to make that lovely juicy fruit. So here we are with Chloroplast Blast, the hard-working part of the orchard. So here is 5 greens that I've used in a streak dyeing. As you can see, it's just random placements of each of the colors. They're allowed to bleed into each other and just make a semi-solid color, yet you've got highlights depending on the bamboo and merino, the difference of the dyeing, where it just kind of stains the bamboo. You keep that shine. The intention on this type of streak dyeing is to be able to just spin one into the other, apply it together randomly, and end up with pretty much a non-pooling, non-striping finished yarn. Of course, that all depends on how you work with it. One could take this apart, and I've seen people do it, where you just take out bits and pieces of a certain color. I pulled a few out here, but just giving a little pull, and then just pulling out certain sections, and then spinning those on one bobbin versus the other on another bobbin, and then plying them together so you get some definite color difference. But it's going to be hard to work with on this particular one to do that. So the first way that I did this was what I'll be doing every month, and spun a single, and then did that into a Navajo 3-ply. I then knitted onto the scarf that's going to be going all year long here. You can see there's January's blues. And now we've got the greens of the Chloroplast Blast knit on here. As you can see, this time around I did my Navajo 3-ply a little heavier than the last time. It does create a little difference in there, but with some nice blocking and such right at the changes of the colors, there shouldn't be a real issue. And I actually kind of enjoy working with the different size yarns together. The colors, you can see you get a bit of blotches of colors, no real pooling or streaking, but just random. And like I said, this was just spun from one end of the roll to the other, and then Navajo plied. The other way that I did was 2 nice fluffy singles that came out to be close to a sports weight when it got to a 2-ply. This was done randomly for one side, and the other side I had picked out some of the darker colors. Now I used that in the bottom part of this. Let's go in a little closer here and see if we can see a little more color difference or not. But there's some pooling with the colors. And like I said, this was the bottom half here. Now the top half of the hat was done with just splitting the fiber into 2, spinning half on one bobbin, the other bobbin, and just doing a 2-ply. It was more into a fingering weight, and I did this on purpose to show how to use different size weights. You know, when you're spinning, sometimes it's like, oh darn, I've gone spinning thinner, or I'm spinning heavier. And I just want to show you don't really have to be afraid to use those together in a project. Just, you know, think about its location. Here with the band, I can get away with a heavier yarn. It's going to take a little more abuse and being a little sturdier, and then going into the thinner, more delicate type. And working with the pattern on, I just kind of did a random pattern in my head, but you can see the switch over here from the heavier to the lighter. Now this lighter, you can see there's really no big color blotches, just some color changing going on. I'm trying to move these around a little bit so you can get a good look at the color. That was pretty good. But just don't be afraid to use different size yarns together. As you can see here, it's, you know, going to be looking a little different, and we're going to have to see what it looks like after 12 months of different colors hooked onto it in different sizes. But don't be afraid to work them together. The last way that I like to use this fiber is to spin a single out of it and then ply it with a striped yarn. This time around I plied with Burning Bush, which is a lot of oranges, browns, it's into the yellows, a little bit of purple to it, and you can see that there's still the stripes, so this is a very heavy striped fiber on its own, but then plying that single with the green really toned it down and made it a very simple color change where you don't have the big lifesaver stripes on it. On the other side of this little bag, you'll see that there's the blue and green of Calm Waters that I applied with this. And once again, you can see light striping, but not that bright lollipop lifesaver stripes going on. And that should do it for about this month. Be sure to check out the pictures in the blog.